Welcome into the CHGO Blackhawks podcast, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the app and use the promo code CHGO when you sign up. Welcome in. I'm Jay Zawaski here with Mario Tirabassi in our very bright CHGO studios in the West Loop. Greg Boysen will join us from the UC in a little while. The Hawks win 4-3 in overtime, coming back from a 3-1 deficit. Seth Jones with the game-tying and game-winning goals. The game-tire with the empty net. The game-winner in overtime. A really fun game. A really great response to a horrible loss against the Kraken.
Yeah.
We're going to get into all of it. Before we do, make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube page. Make sure you smash that like button for us. And we've got those likes piling up to get those extra votes in, or those extra spins at the tank wheel at the end of the show. Mm-hmm. We had a user on Twitter say, hey, we've got 2 in the bank. He went back and checked how many were owed. So we got at least two extra spins tonight.
It's our CHGO stats department. Work hard at work.
Absolutely. And make sure if you're listening to just the podcast that you are subscribed there as well. We've got a poll question going on right now on the YouTube. Would you be happy with the Blackhawks looking like the current Sabres team in 3 years? You can vote yes or no, and we will update that poll as the show goes on. All right.
And you don't have to respond with, they can't beat the Blackhawks. Zoom out.
Yeah.
Please.
So we're going to do this right off the hop. Mm-hmm. We're not going to have the tank angst throughout this entire show.
As far as I know, the sky is still above us.
Yes.
It's not falling.
We're not going to do this with every Hawks win because it's getting to the point where it feels a bit like a straw man, where we're only arguing with a few people. The Hawks are still terrible. They still are going to have, in my opinion, the best chance to land Connor Bedard. Yes, every win stunts that opportunity potentially, but when you look at what could be coming in the next month or so, transaction-wise, this team, I believe, is and will continue to be the worst team in hockey. So we're not going to do the talking people off the ledge every time the Hawks win anymore, because I think, frankly, it's not entertaining. It's repetitive, and we've been there before. We've been through it, and every time we go through it, after a couple days, we do the tank standings, and guess who's right at the top again? The Blackhawks. So there. That said.
Yeah, look, they're still the worst team in the league. They've played 42 games. They have 12 wins.
Yeah.
Like, everything with the tank is fine, and we've talked about it on the show before. Out of the teams in the tank standings, they are the team set up to lose the most when it comes to the upcoming trade deadline. Right. Because you look at teams like Arizona and Columbus and even Philly, and they're not going to be selling off the kinds of parts that the Blackhawks probably will end up doing. So,
yes.
We can just
record that, and Steven, instead of the countdown before every show, which I really love, the jazzy little number we play, we could just play that.
30 seconds of that
after every win. Yeah, just to say we're not doing it, okay? Yeah. The other thing, just a real quick extra qualifier is, yes, Connor Bedard is the ultimate prize, but it's not him and then no one in the draft. Adam Fantilli's really good. Matvei Michkov is really good. Leo Carlson's really good. It's going to be okay. I'm just saying, don't do this to yourself every time your favorite hockey team wins. That's bad for your mental health. All right.
Yeah.
I love today's poll question. You stayed home from the game. You came here to watch the game while Greg and I were there.
I was here.
And we were having a very similar conversation there that you and I had when we got here. Would you be happy with the Hawks looking like the current Sabres team in 3 years? I answer that question, yes. Because what you're seeing is top draft picks starting to all come together at the same time to make a really good, exciting, young team. You've got 2 guys, in Rasmus Dahlin and Owen Power, who were no doubt number 1 overall picks in their drafts. It was them, like Bedard, and everybody else. And it's taken Dahlin until this year really to look like a star player.
He turned a bit of a corner last year, but yeah, definitely this year is his breakout year for sure.
Owen Power has not gotten there yet. right?
No, but he's
playing well.
Playing well.
But he doesn't look like, oh, my God, look at this guy's a franchise-changing kind of a guy yet.
And he took an extra year.
Yeah.
He went back to Michigan for a second year. So, there is cases where a number 1 overall pick needs some extra time.
Right.
And I think it's, in hindsight, good decision by him. And the Buffalo Sabres are probably, appreciative of the extra time he got, because now he's able to step in and he's not like the analogy that you've made a number of times regarding a guy like Henry Yukihara, where, he looks like an NHL player, but he's barely hanging on by a thread to be that. Owen Power doesn't look like that.
No. Yukihara is another one, a first-round pick that the Blackhawks gave up on and got Alex Nylander for. We should take money from the jar for that.
Yeah.
And you've also got Alex Tuck, who was acquired from Vegas when you traded Jack Eichel. Mm-hmm. You've got Tage Thompson, who was a St. Louis Blues draft pick, and he's setting the league on fire. Savvy moves, good drafting at the top of the draft, and now you have the Buffalo Sabres, who are one of the league's up-and-coming and most exciting teams. Here, though, to me, is the primary difference, aside from Power and Dahlin being defensemen, and whoever the Hawks pick this year likely being a forward. Chicago is a free agent destination. You and I were talking about it, like, what's the last big free agent that the Sabres signed?
It's been a while.
They traded for Jeff Skinner and then re-signed him after the trade.
Massive contract.
That's kind of it.
Yeah, off the top of my head, I can't think of a major free agent maybe in the last 5, 6, 7 years that has gone to Buffalo and made a big difference. Again, they've been in a rebuild for an extended period of time, and I think a lot of that is due to previous front office poor asset management, poor development and outlook. I think they've turned a corner a bit in the last few years, and you're now seeing the benefits of that for this Buffalo team. But I talked about it. We talked about it during the third period here. As far as city for city, there's no question that Chicago is going to attract more players as far as city amenities go than Buffalo. No disrespect to Buffalo, but hockey market, Buffalo is a market that even when the Sabres have been bad over these last few years, Sabres fans are still all out for their team, and I think that's a huge testament to
Sabres Mafia.
Absolutely, it's a huge testament to the fan base that they have, and now you're seeing the upswing of success that Buffalo is starting to have, and I think it's great. I think their fan base has definitely pounded the table for the team, ownership, front office to be better, to reward the fans more by going out and making these changes. And I think they finally are seeing the benefits of that. So good for the Buffalo market. I think it's in the NHL realm as far as hockey markets, Buffalo's up there in the top third, maybe even top 10. And Chicago's obviously in there as well. So I think as this team has success, Buffalo, they're going to become a little bit more of a destination. Yeah. But Chicago, they inherently have a little bit more of a, players want to go there.
Buffalo currently has $18 million in cap space.
That's pretty good. Buyers at the trade
I'm
going to
suggest something that no one's ever suggested before. Patrick Kane to Buffalo.
Oh. He's from the area, right?
Is he?
I think I heard that on the pregame show.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah, it's not common knowledge.
Yeah, no one ever talks about that.
Because Chris Chelios was unaware that Patrick Kane was from Buffalo.
Yeah.
So it's not that common of knowledge, but Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, look, they're going to need
Cousins, who says no?
Probably Buffalo. But they're going to be a team that is going to be buyers at the trade deadline, or at least they should be. Definitely capitalize on this season. And then, I think going into the next 2 free agent summers with the talent that's out there, I wouldn't be surprised if Buffalo tries to, really make a swing and find that piece that helps put them over the top.
It'd be so nice to have them be relevant again. They're one of those teams in hockey where I just think the game is cooler when they're good.
Oh yeah.
Because of the intensity and the the rabidness of the fan base. Great looking uniforms, cool history.
Except for tonight, I don't like those uniforms.
You don't like the all whites?
No,
I think they're so bad that they're good.
I think as a setup, they look very crisp and clean, but then you put them on the ice and it's all washed out, and I just think it looks bad.
Yeah,
but they did bring back the 90s
black,
and early 2000s red and black. Like,
was it Darlene that said they feel evil when they wear those? I think it might have been
someone
Darlene.
did,
So one of the
yeah.
Sabres players said that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So anyway, I really do think in 2-3 years, assuming the Hawks get a top 2 or 3 pick this year, which seems
is a good assumption.
A good assumption.
Yes.
And if it's Bedard, maybe they'd even be beyond this place, because you've got Korchinski in the pipeline, Allen, Del Mastro, Isaac Phillips, who I thought looked fantastic today.
Vlasic,
Regula. You've got all these guys who can kind of just find their way in, and then you'll draft more. You're probably going to draft a defenseman or two this year at some point.
Probably.
Right? Like second round, third round, whatever. Late in the first.
Who knows where Sam Renzel is in 3 years?
Yeah.
Like he's a guy that they're looking at it as a project, but could be in the mix at that point.
But you're starting to see how good drafting and savvy trades can make a team go from, oh my God, these guys are trash, to, hey, this team's pretty good, young and exciting in a short amount of time. And look, we've seen from Kyle Davidson so far, and it's kind of hard to. This year is so strange, right? I think we'll probably get a better indication of Kyle Davidson as a GM this summer and next year, where the goal will not be finish last, because we all know that's what the goal is.
Yeah.
Next year, I don't think they're going to be all out tanking again. Reichel will be here. Some kids will be here playing full time. They might sign a veteran to make them a little more competitive, whatever. And I think we'll see maybe some more like player transactions there. But I want to see how he does in acquiring non-picks. Lafferty for Alex Nylander, that's a win.
It's a win.
You got Jason Dickinson for
Riley
Stillman
and a future second round pick.
Second round pick. That worked out. Hagel for Radish is not a wash, but you get 2 first-round picks, so okay.
Well, and you got Kachuk, but yeah.
Yeah, what's his name? So
yeah.
We're seeing that he's creative and he's willing to make trades. I'd like to see him at this deadline, hopefully, bring in some established young players, and maybe established is a wrong word, but already drafted, already developing players. I was talking to Greg during the game we were talking about the Dylan Cousins draft, and Alex Turcotte is a guy who for LA has not really panned out. He's only played 8 NHL games. He hasn't really been doing great at the AHL level. Maybe that's the kind of guy that needs a change of scenery. Not him specifically necessarily, but
from the area.
But things like that you take some. That's what Jokiharju was in the eyes of the Hawks. Like, well, it's not going to work here.
Right.
Here you go. And now Jokiharju has become a really nice top 4 for the Sabres.
Yeah. I think the Blackhawks could take advantage of that. I think Kyle Davidson could go that route. I think though, in learning from the previous front office regime, where it was reclamation project after reclamation project, I would tend to believe, given Kyle Davidson's track record of pretty much scrubbing the last front office off this team, that he might not go that route. That might have been one of the ways in which he did not align with the vision of that front office. I don't know. I don't have any information to suggest that, but that could be something that he does, and maybe it is more of a belief in his own drafting, his own farm system, getting the guys in and waiting for them to come along, and kind of piecing together to kind of bridge the gap between now and 3 seasons from now, what the roster could look like. Moves like Athanasiou and Domi, where you bring in guys on shorter term deals who are established as NHL players, but it's not like you're going out there and getting, the 35-year-old guy who just wants a 1-year deal to get flipped to Cup Chase or anything like that. Like, you're getting a guy who's in the meat of his career. I think that could be something that he does going into next summer and then the summer after. But I think especially that summer of 2024, where the free agent class, if the majority of the guys that are supposed to get there, there's going to be a lot there. And maybe that's when he takes the bigger swing on trying to get a guy who can come in, have maybe an extended contract and be like, hey, you're cornerstone XYZ of this rebuild now. And you usher in some of the younger guys behind him.
I think that makes perfect sense. And when you look at the Blackhawks dynasty, it was, you brought in Marty Havlat to kind of bridge
the gap.
And you thought maybe he really gets really good and takes that next step, but he was always hurt and didn't really take that next step. Then when they're like, it's time to win now, there's Marian Hossa and Thomas Kopetsky and John Madden. We forget about John Madden, how huge of a move that was, right? There were so many other things aside from Hossa that made that team so great. Exactly. But yeah, I think that idea is very sound.
And Brian Campbell too.
Because look, I think if Domi and Athanasiou, and there has been some talk that Domi might stay or come back or whatever. Either way, I think what they have wanted to get from this experience, especially Domi, I think it's worked for them.
Oh yeah,
they have shown hey, look, Domi's on pace for 60 points. He can do it.
Last time he did that was 4 years ago.
Yeah, and he's been an asset in the locker room and on the ice. He's the team's leading scorer. He's today was a tough game for him. He didn't score on a breakaway in overtime and completely gave a puck away at the blue line on a power play that led to a Sabres goal. But overall, he's been really, really solid. Mm-hmm. And this is what he was looking for is, all right, look, I'm getting traded everywhere. No one really wants to commit to me. Here's an opportunity for me to play on a top line and show I can produce at this level. And now I think there's going to be a little more demand for him this summer.
Yeah, or at least
at the deadline,
especially at the trade deadline. Yeah. I think contending teams would see him performing in the role that he's performing in now, and think, hey, if we can carry that over and make him put him on our third line, that's going to be a huge addition. Yeah, kind of like what Brandon Hagel brought to the Tampa Bay Lightning. He was performing tremendously in a top role for the Blackhawks, and then went to Tampa where he was a third and fourth liner for that season, and now obviously has developed a little bit more into a more go-to guy for them. But Domi could bring that to a contending team in a more minor role and be a huge asset to them. As far as him coming back, I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, I think Athanasiou too. Maybe the points and goals aren't coming like he would expect, but it seems like every night he's creating at least one, if not two chances, just individually, right, using his speed to create scoring chances. And I think, again, teams that want to be active at the deadline could look at that and say, hey, we could put him in a third or fourth line role as a speed guy, as a individual chance creator. And if they want to spend a third or second round pick, even by all means, go for it.
Well, too, if you're when you get to the playoffs, it's even playoff teams they'll lessen their ice time for their lower six. So you bring in a guy like Athanasiou, you're down a goal late. Then you maybe where you bury him a little bit when the game's a little more even. You get down late, you've got that weapon off the bench with the speed and with the hands and all that thing. Yeah. Those guys are going to have value at the deadline, and this is what we're sort of talking about as we approach the deadline. As we look at the standings. Everyone is keeping the Hawks in these games and winning the ones here. Most of them are likely not going to be here on March 3rd. Mm-hmm. And if you missed it, we'll probably get more into this on tomorrow's show. We're back tomorrow at 2:30. We'll have news from practice and everything. But we'll probably get into what Taves and Kane had to say on the Blackhawks Talk podcast. But it doesn't feel like either guy is like, no, I'm staying.
No.
I don't know if either are for sure what they're doing, but there's no indication to me that they're firm in staying here.
No, and I think both guys kind of left things a bit still just kind of open-ended.
Yeah.
Right? Patrick Kane definitely felt like he was just kind of staying right down the line that he has all season, where he seems like he's been very tight-lipped and considerate of what he's saying publicly. Taves, he opened up a bit more, but again, he didn't really say as much definitively one way or the other. I think the biggest thing that stood out was he said like something to the effect of, I can see myself being a Blackhawk for my career and retiring here, but I also see the opportunity for change for both the team and myself, and how that could be a good thing too. So he kind of said like, I could see both things, but didn't sound committed to either. So yeah, that we can expound on that more tomorrow. I think that would be a good time to do it. But I think it's really going to come down to how those meetings go with those players and Kyle Davidson and Pat Brisson, and those are expected to happen this month by all accounts. And what Kyle Davidson said that'll happen in the next few weeks. So I think we're hoping to get some closure on that, but I think that is going to be, it's clear those are going to be the two biggest moves that this team could and should make leading up to this deadline if the guys want to go. But then yeah, like Domi, Athanasiou, maybe Connor Murphy or Jake McCabe. Maybe even a guy like Dickinson might be on the move, or a Sam Lafferty. Like there's some players that, nothing is bolted down to the floor besides.
Jesus,
that's a good point. Besides Seth Jones, there's really nothing bolted to the floor. So if teams want to come to the Blackhawks and offer, trade packages or whatever that meet what Kyle Davidson wants from a player or entices him beyond the value that the player is bringing to the team, there's no reason not to go for it. And that's just each cut at the roster makes this team that's already bad going to be worse. And I think also will hopefully allow for some younger players to elevate later in the season. Yeah.
Again, we will get to this tomorrow, but you tweeted, thank you for doing the legwork on this. This is from Taves with Charlie Romeliotis. He says, part of myself doesn't want to admit the situation and wants to continue being a Blackhawk and finish my career here. Same time, part of me sees the writing on the wall. Team is trying to hit the reset button, and maybe change for everybody is not such a bad thing. So I don't know if either guy really knows what they're going to do yet. They might not honestly know. And No Roy's Just Rage says Davidson needs to say, give me 3 to 5 teams. If Taves and Kane want to help the Hawks out, give Davidson some leverage with the bidding war. He has said he's not going to go to them. He's going to wait to hear if they want to go. Now, he also said, once Lucas Reichel's recalled, he's here for good. So things change and plans change, right? And I do think it would be a bit negligent, even though you could say, like, hey, you owe it to those guys to let them dictate how their career in Chicago ends. And I agree with that. But I do believe it would be negligent if neither guy says anything by the middle of February. He doesn't go, hey, have you thought about maybe moving on?
Yeah.
I think he does at some point have to kind of initiate. Like, we keep hearing January. They're going to talk. It's January 17th. And apparently that discussion hasn't quite happened yet.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
I mean, they have until, March 2nd, really, to have this meeting. But, yeah, I think that the sooner the better. But I feel like once those meetings happen, that information will obviously be public. There's no way that those meetings are going to happen and no one's going to know about them. But I think that those will be because this isn't, these guys are not taking this lightly. Kyle Davidson's not taking this lightly. Blackhawks fans are not taking this lightly. Like the future of those guys it's been the story ever since the summer.
Yeah.
So I feel like when those guys sit down and have their meeting, I think they're gonna hammer out everything that needs to be hammered out. And if Kyle Davidson talks to them and they say, you know what, we like Luke Richardson, we like, we'd like to ride this out see what the rest of the season does, see what happens in the summer. We'll revisit it in June or July or whatever. That could be an option. I don't see where Kyle Davidson would say, no, get out of here. And if they say, you know what, we've seen enough, we're ready to move on, Kyle Davidson will be very happy to oblige them.
Yeah. Comment from Gunzo right above there, Steven right above Allen. He says it's not the player's job to initiate. An experienced GM would strike first.
They have.
I agree with that. If we're talking in generalities.
Contractually.
Yes. But this is Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews. Gunzo, think of it as Bobby Hull and Stan Mikita. Okay?
Sure.
Like, those guys are a different level to this franchise than Sam Lafferty or Max Domi or even Seth Jones or whoever.
Yeah.
It's a different thing with those two guys specifically. Mm-hmm. So, yes, in general, this would not be how it goes. But because of what those two have accomplished, because they're going to have their jerseys retired, because they're going to be iconic Blackhawks for the next century of Blackhawks hockey, yes, they get special treatment, and that's the right thing to do. Dally Boy 247 says, Taves half retained for Turcotte. Friedman said Kings need a third-line center. We can send a second or third with. There's no way I'm giving them Taves and a second or third for Alex Turcotte. It's going to take a lot more for that for Jonathan Taves for me. I'm not sending anything back. If you want to do a 1-for-1, even that's not enough for me.
No,
Turcotte's played 8 games and has not done much in the minors at all. But yeah, I need more than that.
Yeah, on that player specifically, I loved Alex Turcotte in his draft year. I wanted him to be selected by the Blackhawks, but he has had at least two major concussion issues, and as a 21-year-old now, I think he is 2021. Like, oof, that's tough. And yeah, his production at the NHL and AHL level haven't been, to the standards that a 4th overall pick you'd like to see. So yeah, I'm not really entertaining that unless you're getting much more in return for Jonathan Toews.
Yeah, I agree. Greg is standing by, but first we're going to tell you about some meat and give you our DraftKings King of the Game.
Yeah. Green Ridge Farm, they have the meats. Actually, I don't think that's their.
I think that's
their
somebody
slogan.
else.
That might be somebody else.
And that place doesn't have ham, so they don't have the meats, do they?
That's true. Not all of them. But Green Ridge Farm, everything that you could want out of a meat provider, they can provide it. They are a local Chicago meat and cheese company offering you a better all-natural option, makers of all-natural deli meat, sausages, and, of course, the famous meat sticks. Perfect for tailgating, happy hours, school lunches. The meat sticks are all natural and hardwood smoked for 8 hours. They are packed with 16 grams of protein per stick, making them a perfect post-workout snack. Meat sticks come in different varieties like chicken, Black Forest beef, and flavors like jalapeno cheddar and spicy chili. Haven't tried them yet? You don't know what you're missing out. They are delicious, obviously, because they are made from recipes generations in the makings, and of course, being all natural, they deliver a fresh and flavorful alternative at snack time. You can always find them in the refrigerated sections of your local Costco or Sam's Club or Chicagoland grocery store of choice. Right now, when you order any 3 meat products at greenridgefarm.com, if you include a pack of meat sticks in your cart, those are going to be free when you use the promo code CHGO at checkout. Again, that's CHGO at checkout at greenridgefarm.com. Get yourself some tasty meats, some tasty meat sticks. Green Ridge Farm, simply natural meat. That's their tagline. And I
have
like that
a meat
better.
story.
A meat story.
Remember I talked about the Caminito ham last week, the Green Ridge Farm? So I got some more of it.
Yeah.
I made myself a sandwich, and I'm like, wow, it's a little chewier than usual. I think I ate the paper. The deli paper that they put, they cut your meat and then they fold it into the paper and put it in the bag. I think I ate.
It must have been pretty good for you to keep going.
I didn't care. I was so into the ham that I was like, oh, whatever. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I ate the paper from
God.
Green Ridge
so
Farm
is
ham.
it? They don't. Is it every slice?
I
paper
get
on it?
my.
There's something about that just the little things in life that just irritate the hell out of you. When I get deli meat that's cut and it's like every slice is like meat, paper, meat,
oh,
paper,
yeah,
meat,
they
paper.
do it with cheese a lot, so it doesn't melt together.
It's grinds my gears.
No, well, there's no way to say this without people snickering, but I get my meat shaved, so it's not like slice. It's more of like kind of clumped. So I just pull like pieces off and put on a sandwich. I know.
Sure.
There's no way to say I shave my meat without. Yeah,
that's a former sponsor of ours.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just can't do it. All right, we've got the DraftKings King of the Game to give you, and you're never going to guess. It was Seth Jones, and we haven't really gotten in to Seth Jones's game. He
big game
was had the least ice time among defensemen after the first period, and he still managed to finish a -2. I think whatever message Luke Richardson was trying to send, Seth received. End of the game.
Yeah.
2 goals, an assist, 3 points, 23:52 of ice time, 4 shots on goal, 5 more shot attempts, 3 hits, and 2 block shots. That is a $9.5 million defenseman. Now, can you do that every night? That would be wonderful.
That would be wonderful.
Or maybe every other night, or every third night even.
Yeah.
But this is the Seth Jones at his peak, and whatever happened in the first, we're not sure, but boy, he really responded with an excellent rest of the game. So Seth Jones is our DraftKings King of the Game, and the NFL playoff action continues. We're one step closer to Super Bowl 57, and for the NFL divisional round, check out DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. New customers can bet just $5 and get $200 in free bets instantly. Listen to that again. Bet $5 and get $200 in free bets instantly as soon as you make the bet. Not about winning or losing that one. It's $200 automatically as soon as you place that $5 bet. Plus, all new and existing customers can take a shot at an even bigger payout with DraftKings stepped-up same-game parlays. Boost your NFL winnings with each leg you add up to 100%. It's going to be an awesome weekend. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really glad Tom Brady's out.
Yeah, I'd like to apologize to all of our DraftKings bettors. The pick of the week last week told you to take the Buccaneers. Sorry.
I did. It's okay. I forgive you.
Hey, look, I put in a call to Brett Maher and told him, hey, if you can tank this game as much as possible, do your best. And he tried, but, Cowboys just scored too many times.
Yeah, well, now we just have a whole offseason of, is he coming back or not? I don't care. Go away. Leave me alone. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use the code CHGO, and new customers will get $200 in free bets instantly when they bet $5. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code CHGO. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See the show notes for details, and let's go out to the United Center to bring in one half of Greg Boysen's face. There you are.
There he is.
Hi, Greg.
Hey there. I'm still getting used to the vertical rectangle. I'm used to the bubble where I can kind of...
You're voguing at the moment.
Yeah.
All right. Did Luke say anything about Seth Jones's first period?
He mentioned that both he and Jake McCabe had a bad first period, but he knew that those are the type of players that are going to take that personally. He didn't say that he said anything to him. I don't think he has to. Those are two guys that kind of know when they're not doing great. And then he credited him with coming back and having, leading charge. And, we talk about the 2 goals and the assist, and the assist. He's got 3 goals, 9 points in his last 6 games. So maybe we're finally seeing that consistent offensive producer that we've been waiting for. But here's a play that goes unlooked or overlooked after all the excitement at the end of the game. Second period, Peter Mrazek drifts way out beyond the dots to go get or was it the third period? Third period, early third period. Mrazek goes out beyond the dots to play a puck and immediately turns it over. And there's Seth Jones in front of the net keeping that puck out. If he doesn't make that defensive play, it doesn't matter. So that's a play that gets forgotten. Scored 2 goals. There's your all-star, ladies and gentlemen.
A 1,000 save percentage.
He made that so calmly, too. That's the sort of thing that I would F up absolutely because it's coming at you kind of slow and you're like, I have to play this perfectly or it's going to be a goal. I would just lay down on the ground because it's the only way I'm guaranteed. But, yeah, he made it cleanly, and, he really played a great last 40 minutes and especially a great last 20. It was really good to see Seth Jones. And, I like you said, Luke didn't have to say anything. The ice time is the message, right? Yeah. And he played 5-something of the first period.
Less than 6 minutes.
Yeah, Seth got it. He heard it. And we got a super chat here from No Rage Just Roids. It's all very confusing. We don't need whatever. Okay, thanks for the $5. He says Seth Jones has 9 points in his past 6 games. What will it take for his haters to embrace him? Well, that's what haters are.
The $9.5 million question.
Yeah, I mean, it's just maybe if he has 3 points every night, they will stop.
Somebody will still bitch and moan. It's why Al Gore invented the internet, so people can be consistently negative.
That's right, and share pornography with each other.
Well, that I approve.
Exactly. So we've spent the first part of the show, Greg, not really discussing the game so much as the big picture.
We're so conditioned to not.
Yeah. In our poll question tonight, and we'll have you chime in on this too, is would you be happy with the Blackhawks looking like the current Sabres team in 3 years? So far, the votes are yes, 66%, and no, 34%. 3 years from now, if the Hawks look like this Buffalo Sabres team, how would you feel about that?
I'd be very happy because the Buffalo Sabres are goaltending, a legit goaltender away from being a threat. They can score goals. They play, as Luke Richardson said, a little loosey-goosey for his liking, but they have Tage Thompson, who is a monster. They have Alex Tuck, who's developing into the player that 2 other teams thought he was going to be and gave up on him early. They've got some great young players. Dylan Cousins was super impressive tonight. He might have been the fastest guy on the ice all night long. They've got a core of talented young players, and you got Rasmus Dahlin on the back end, who, keep this in mind, Blackhawk fans, when Kevin Korchinski gets here in a couple years, it took Rasmus Dahlin 3 full seasons in the NHL to become a star, to become worthy of being picked number 1 overall. So just remember that. And then you got Owen Power, who's another former number 1 overall pick, who's taking his time, but I don't have many doubts so that he's going to get there too. So if we have what Buffalo has right now in 3 years, I'm a big fan of that. And then but here, and if Drew Commesso develops like we're hoping he does, then we have the goaltender that Buffalo's still looking for now. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, I love that name. He might still be the guy. He's probably going to be their number 1 go-to guy by the end of the season, because you can't really think you're going to make a serious run of the playoffs with Eric Comrie and Craig Anderson as your goalies, do you?
The Americans could, but I don't think the Buffalo Sabres could.
Yeah. So if the Hawks are the playoff, the Sabres are right there for a playoff spot, and they're one of the top scoring teams in the league. Hell yes, give me that in 3 to 4 years.
Yeah, and Buffalo, as far as goaltending goes, like you said, they have Luukkonen. They also have Devin Levi, who's arguably one of the best goaltenders in the NCAA in their pipeline. And they also have Eric Portillo at Michigan.
I like
and
him. Today there were reports that he may test the free agents market.
I was just gonna say, if you paid attention a few days ago, Jeff Merrick was saying that Portillo may end up testing the free agent market. And look, like, if I'm the Blackhawks, you
can never have too much.
If you can get a young goaltender who could maybe jump right into your pro system right away,
and think of the
not a bad idea
deal alone for a goaltender named Portillo in Chicago.
It's just it's
too good to be true.
It's made in the stars and the sauce.
Oh, sorry, I'm ordering Portillo's right now. Sorry, I was not paying attention. No, look, those are in. I'm excited for what this team could look like in 3 years, based on what they have now, without even really considering what's coming in this draft.
Mm-hmm.
It's when you take a step back and you think about the things we've heard and seen so far from the Hawks' top prospects. Korchinski and we haven't seen Nazar yet, but from what the expectation is and how really good Ethan Del Mastro has been for Canada, and Nolan Allen is really starting to solidify himself as a solid defender, all these things, and then you add on what they're going to get this year, it is exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And it, if it pans out that in 2-3 years they're a competitive team, maybe not a playoff team, but a team that's exciting and fun to watch every night like the Sabres are, hell yes, sign me up for that.
Yeah.
I'd rather be the Buffalo Sabres right now than the Detroit Red Wings, who everybody was like, hey, look at all those veterans. They're going to make a playoffs. And they kind of suck.
That's surprising. The Red Wings thing is weird to me, but we can talk about them some other time.
Well, they
did just lose, by the way.
Goaltending either.
Yeah, well,
they did lose.
Yeah, they lost in a shootout just now to the Coyotes.
Won.
Hey,
so
go Yotes.
We also have not mentioned Philip Kurashev in this game, and perhaps his best game as a pro. When you put the whole thing together, he was freaking everywhere in this game. Just setting up Connor Murphy. That pass to set up Murphy's goal was sick. Through multiple players from the left wing boards to the right side of the slot. Connor Murphy, of all people, like reading the play and pinching in, and then wristing one over Craig Anderson. Like that play was beautiful, and you're starting to see for a year. And this is another thing as we talk about prospect development. We've seen those hints from Kurashev here and there. Early in the season, had a really good start. Then sort of tapered off. Then you'll see these flashes here and there. I think recently his consistency has started going up more. It's becoming more common where the arrow's pointed up instead of going peaks and valleys. He's another one that 2-3 years from now could be a completely different player. And I really liked what I saw from him. You could see the confidence he's feeling on this team, on that line. I really like Kurashev's game in this one too.
That line with Kurashev, Taves, and Radish was the best Blackhawks forward trio that they had this tonight, and he was a huge part of it. And yeah, I think we've talked about it a lot this season with Kurashev. Is just he just needed the consistent role to be defined for him, and that confidence and that consistency can do a lot for a young player. And tonight was one of his best performances.
I'm looking at the stat card for this game from our Blue Line people.
Yes.
But this is just the game score. The highest rated player in this game, Henry Jokiharju, with a 3.39. Philip Kurashev was second with a 2.91. Owen Power, 2.86. And then it was Seth Jones, 1.86. So our eyes are not deceiving us. Those two guys were the most effective Blackhawks, and it's not really super close otherwise.
I'm not 100% sure what those numbers mean, but here's some numbers that will prove that was the best line out there by far. At 5-on-5 in regulation, that line had 17 shot attempts. The other three lines combined for 18 total, and only 6 from the top line of Johnson, Domi, and Kane. So there you go. They were phenomenal. Philip Kurashev was driving that line. Super happy for Kurashev, and he made me look really good because this morning I was on 9 Good Minutes with Larry Hawley from WGN, and he asked me who on this current roster is a guy that will be here when the games matter again, and I told him all about Philip Kurashev, and he made me look smart for a change of pace. So thank you, Philip, for making me look like I know what I'm talking about.
Perfect timing.
Yeah, he definitely stood out, and I just, when you look at his skill set, that's the sort of guy, when you look at a contender, I get strong Michael Frolik vibes from him. Maybe not that strong defensively, probably a little more offensive upside, but in terms of kind of a, I don't want to say stout, but like bottom heavy, big powerful legs, not the biggest guy in the world, but a heavy skater, a guy that can defend, a guy that can score, and the sort of guy, like, as you're building a contender, that would bring value to really any team.
Yeah.
And can play, and hey, you need me on the top 6 because so-and-so is hurt, I can fill in there. But more often than not, on a contender, you'll see Kurashev on a third or fourth line, adding some depth scoring and some two-way play. I really like him, and I'm really excited that he is making this step this year, because you knew this was going to be his best opportunity to show Luke Richardson and Kyle Davidson and everybody what he has. The opportunity he's getting on that line, the production he's putting up, it's been great for him, and I'm really happy for him because it's a kid who worked his ass off.
Yeah.
Played in Rockford, grew, kind of got jerked around last year with Cowton, and even Derek King said, I probably could have been a little better with Kurashev. So to see him come out the other side of this so successfully is wonderful. I love it.
As the Lebowski 5 says, he's kind of a Frolik versus Stieg kind of combination.
I like that.
Hybrid.
Yeah, I can see that.
I see the Versteeg in him a little bit. Now this comment I'm going to preface it is coming from a guy that owns a 32 Versteeg jersey with a 2010 Stanley Cup final patch on it. Philip Kurashev is a much smarter hockey player than Chris Versteeg ever was. I loved Chris Versteeg, but every game he made you swear at your television at least once for just doing a boneheaded play.
Yeah, so he was
doesn't
good.
Have that in him.
He was good for the every game scream. Marcus Kruger was good to get destroyed once a game. These are things we can reminisce about in the offseason. Like, what was the every game instance with Hawks players? Because, oh, my God, Marcus Kruger would just get railed once per game where you're like, oh, he's dead. We're going to have to get the shovel for Marcus Kruger.
I always used to joke, thank
shovel.
God Marcus Kruger wasn't built at an IKEA because he would have retired a long time ago.
Yeah. Anything else interesting from the players or Luke speaking after the game? Who was available? I bet everybody today.
Well, no, surprisingly, we got Seth Jones and Philip Kurashev begrudgingly came out. He hates media, but he did a good job. And Peter Mrazek came out at the very end, but I was already walking out of the room. He kind of snuck out there when half the beat had left. So, but and good job for Peter Mrazek. A real nice bounce back game for him after giving up 5 goals or 4 goals on 5 shots, whatever it was against Seattle. As of yesterday, he wasn't even supposed to be the starter tonight, so he came out and he played well tonight. You know, and good for him. You want to see a good bounce back from a veteran, and but not a lot. You know, not a lot. We heard the music going and the shouting as we were waiting to go in the room, and then it's amazing how empty and quiet it gets the second they open that door. But nothing earth shattering. You know, Seth was saying that it's always great when the defenseman can chip in offensively, and 3 out of the 4 goals coming from defense. And he gave credit to Tyler Johnson for the game-tying goal. Says that puck doesn't go in if Johnson's not at the front of the net. So you know, he says all the right things, and he wants to you know, be more aggressive and shoot more. And we're seeing that over the last 5 or 6 games. So hopefully he can keep that going and become that elite 2-way defender the Blackhawks were hoping he was going to be when they acquired him.
Yeah. I think Seth being more aggressive is definitely to his benefit. There was a point in tonight's game where I think it might have been second period. He came down on a 3-on-2 down the middle and had a wide open lane and passed it. And Steven was here with me watching the game, and I was just beside myself because in a season where wins and losses are not the main objective, you still want to see your top players play well and play up to their standards. And on a play like that, I'm just like, Seth, shoot the frickin' puck. Made up for it. But yeah, I think him being more aggressive will do him wonders. And this team needs to be more aggressive.
Yeah.
You know, offensively. And I think we saw it in the 3 games where Patrick Kane wasn't around, where more guys took a little bit more of that chance to be a bit more individually aggressive. So, yeah, good for Seth to eventually get the message and put it all together in crunch time.
I just think, too, in general, you look at the game against Seattle, and, I mean, they're already among the worst in hockey, but that could be the sort of thing that just really screws morale and screws any sort of effort. And it could have been really easy for the Hawks to just say, well, you know, that's it. You know, Reichel's sent down. We just got crushed at home. Our goalies suck. There's no hope for us. We're going to ho-hum our way through the rest of the season. And they come out in this game.
Sounds like our chat.
And yeah, right. And they come out in this game, and look, they get out to a lead. They're playing well. They're playing hard. Greg, you and I were talking about it. They're finishing every check. They're making a point of it. They get down 3-1, and it definitely could have, like, they had every excuse to just fold up the tents and just play out the rest of the game and go home. But they battled and battled and battled and came back. And as we look at, you know, you're talking about you want to see how the star players do even in a bad year. You want to see how players respond to the coach in a bad year. And Luke Richardson, instead of going ballistic and bag skating the Hawks the other day, he said, we're not even going to watch this effing tape. It's not happening. This game is, we will never speak of it again. It is he who shall not be named the game. You know, we're never discussing it again. Let's go out and have a hard, competitive practice. It's not a punishment, but a reminder of what it takes to win in this league. And they came out against a good team and came back down 3-1. I think it's impressive. And I think that's a little thing that Luke Richardson should probably get a little bit of credit for here, is that where most other coaches in this league would have lost their effing minds after that Seattle game.
Sure.
He did not. He kept his cool. He thought about what was the right way to respond. He didn't just respond, right? He thought about here's a weird aside. When I was a kid, I was being a complete jerk. I was probably 8 or 9. And my dad pulled me out of where we were. We were at my old school. It was like an open gym. My dad pulled me out of the car, put me in the car and said, "We're going home." And he sat quietly in the car the whole way home and said, "Go up in your room and wait for me." And I'm like, well, I'm dead. I am going to get murdered. I've never seen my dad this mad.
It's been a good run.
So
9 years.
My dad gives himself 10 minutes to chill out. And he comes up and he said, "What you did today was unacceptable, and I don't want to see it again." And I was like, this is now, 35 years later, and I still remember that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I know it's a weird, but I just can't help think about that. He took that time to say, what is the right way to handle this? I can go up there and hit him with the wooden spoon or spank him on the ass or whatever, or ground him or scare him or whatever. But I think what's going to be more impactful right now is I'm not mad, I'm disappointed. And it stuck with me.
Yeah.
And I think the players, is making them skate till they puke going to make them play harder against the Sabres? No. Maybe out of fear, and maybe it lasts a game or two, but it doesn't have an impact in the long haul, right? That's why coaches like John Tortorella are almost gone. And we'll get into that again tomorrow. There's some John Tortorella stuff going around tonight that we're going to get into tomorrow as well.
I got a thought on that before we leave. Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah, it just doesn't work anymore, and I'm really impressed with Luke's handling of the Seattle game. I think he handled it brilliantly, and he got a result tonight.
Luke said that he said tonight he thought that the fact that they outscored Seattle 4-2 in the second, in the 40 minutes after the first period kind of led a little them feeling better about the whole thing, and then credited the team for not giving up tonight. They said they really wanted this one, back the first. This was the exact opposite of what happened when the Hawks were in Buffalo in October. If you remember, I mean, it feels like that was 20 years ago, but it was only 2.5 months ago, 3 months ago, where the Hawks took a 3-1 lead into the third period in Buffalo and lost 4-3 in overtimes. And Luke said that was on their brains tonight. They thought about that and they flipped the table. Seth Jones mentioned that regardless of what the expectations are or what the results have been, every player in that locker room plays for pride every night, and that's what they did tonight.
Well, and we've discussed this a little bit too, and when you look at the kind of guys that Kyle Davidson brought in for this team, character, hustle, Colin Blackwell is like this Blackhawks season in player form where they try really hard and they fall down. Right? Like that.
Where they go for a hit and they bang really themselves into the glass.
But
throw in their stick.
That Colin Blackwell is going to give you everything he's got every shift.
Skate his ass off
that
every game.
Sam Lafferty's going to do that. That Jake McCabe's going to do that. Up and down this roster, it's full of character because character is what it takes to get through 82 games as the worst roster in hockey. Yep. And the fact that we're at the 42 game mark right now and this team has not absolutely quit, knowing that Taves and Kane and Domi and Athanasiou and maybe Murphy and maybe McCabe and maybe Stalock are all potentially gone, I think that speaks volumes to the characters of the dudes on this team and the coach.
Yeah, the way that game 41 went could have easily been game 42 is the point where the season is over.
Right.
And yes, this season is not have high expectations at all. But Luke Richardson, after the Kraken loss, really set the tone for his team and said, look, we cannot just show up, or we can't have games where we don't show up to work.
Right.
That can't be acceptable. And I think he really set down the tone and the kind of locker room culture that I think Luke Richardson, he definitely wants to set as a head coach, and what Kyle Davidson wants to set for this team. And I think that goes hand in hand with why he was brought in.
Yeah.
And, I think he really did have the I'm not mad, I'm disappointed in you kind of, fatherly response to that game, and this team could have easily packed it in and said, you know what, the second 41, we're not gonna care. We just got the doors blown off, and they came out and they responded, and that's when we talk about setting a culture for the future. It's things like that matter this season that will carry over into next season and the season after, and then when this roster is full of guys who are going to be expected to be the roster that competes for the playoffs, competes for Stanley Cups, that tone will be set and will be ingrained in the locker room.
Yep, no doubt. All right, let's do our 4 stars of the game so Greg can go home.
Please.
The 3 stars in this one, number 3 star, Connor Murphy with a goal, 20 minutes and 29 seconds of ice time and 4 block shots. His 4th goal of the season. He only has 2 assists, which I think is amazing. Philip Kurashev, your number 2 star. He had a goal, 2 assists, a +3, 20-25 of ice time, 2 shots, 2 more shot attempts, and 3 takeaways. And here's Seth Jones, 2 goals, an assist, 23-52 of ice time, 4 shots, 5 more shot attempts, 3 hits, and 2 block shots. That is your number 1 star of the game. My 4th star is going to Isaac Phillips. Not much of an impact on the score sheet in this one, but played 18-33 of ice time, had 2 shots on goal, had 3 more shot attempts, had 2 hits, a takeaway, and a block shot. And we saw it again. Isaac Phillips with the give and go, giving it to the winger, breaking through the offensive zone, calling for the puck. I love the way Isaac Phillips is playing lately. He looks fast. He looks decisive. He's physical, and he's feeling himself offensively. I really like his last 3, 4, 5 games in a row. So Isaac Phillips, the spirit of the 4-star of the game is that unsung dude. Isaac Phillips was that unsung dude in this game. He was terrific again. And, man, I cannot wait to watch this kid's career. I really can. He's been so good.
Yeah, when we were talking about the comparisons between the Sabres now and what we could hope the Blackhawks could be in the next few seasons, Isaac Phillips is part of that discussion. And we looked at the Sabres' top 4 defensemen. They're all 23 and younger. They're all got young guys that were brought in through high draft picks. And when you look at what the Blackhawks could be in 3 years, you could be talking about a top 4 that includes Kevin Korchinski, Ethan Del Mastro, Nolan Allen, Isaac Phillips. That gets me a little excited. And yes, I know Seth Jones will be there, but maybe he'll be pushed down the lineup a little bit. Mm-hmm. But that is, when we talk about where this team could be, all of those guys being in their early 20s, being NHL competent, that's a big deal. And I think this was another example of Isaac Phillips really solidifying himself as one of the young and upcoming defensemen that Blackhawks fans should really be getting excited about.
Greg?
That is all very true and exciting. And it's a good comparison to what the Sabres have right now. But I'm going to give my 4-star to the captain, Jonathan Toews, who was part of that great line tonight. Yeah, he only had 1 shot attempt, but he had the assist on the opening goal, and he got that assist because he beat 2 Sabres to the puck along the boards, won a board battle. He was doing a lot of little things. It's back-to-back games with a point for Toews now, after we had kind of been hey, these last 8 or 9 games haven't been great. Where has he been? He's been invisible. He's found the score sheet in back-to-back games, and he won 10 of 11 faceoffs tonight. So when you're on a line that's dominating the game, you want the puck. He did his job tonight. So Jonathan Toews gets my 4-star.
Yeah, love to see those games for him. My 4-star of the night was on Jonathan Toews' line. It was Taylor Radish. According to Natural Stat Trick, Taylor Radish led the team in today's game with individual expected goals at a .59 click, which is very good. On the blue line chart, He was third behind Philip Kurashev and Seth Jones. And as you know, blue lines don't lie. Taylor Radish was very noticeable tonight. Part of the best forward line that the Blackhawks had. Got an assist, so he got on the score sheet, which is always great. And he's really been one of the lesser propped up Blackhawks that really I could look at and say, you know what, he could definitely play a role on a contending team in a couple of years. He's not going to be in your top six, but he could be a competent third liner, and be a guy that could provide some depth scoring. He's got a little bit of a physical game to him as well. Like he's not a defensive stalwart, but he's definitely somebody who I could see making some room for himself on this roster down the road.
Love it. Sure. Yeah, but that's a guy we're not talking enough about.
Second on the team in goals?
Yeah, we should start talking about him more. I really think so. So, all right, Greg, we're going to let you go. Thanks for being there. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll get you talk to you tomorrow. Oh, yeah. You want to say something about Wackington.
And this may piss off the stick to sports people, but I don't give a rat's ass because we are allowed at CHGO to speak our minds. And I just wanted to say how disgusted and ashamed of the Philadelphia Flyers and John Tortorella I am right now. Not unshockingly, but this is a guy that says a couple years ago he would bench any player that takes a knee during the national anthem, but he has no problem dressing a homophobe on his team on Pride Night. F you, John Tortorella and the Philadelphia Flyers. That's who the Blackhawks play on Thursday, and I hope they beat them 200-0. Ivan Provorov, you're an embarrassment and a joke. LGBT community, I'm your ally. I will stand up for you going forward, to the end of time. Screw the Flyers.
Yeah, Thursday's game should be fun. I echo Greg's message. I hope they bury the Flyers. Screw the tank Thursday night. I hope they bury him.
Yep, absolutely. No room for pudwax or homophobes anywhere. And people that hide behind religion for their hate can and will, if you believe in those things, burn in hell.
Well, you know what? Ivan Provorov's religion also says has a ban against premarital sex. So I hope he's a virgin. Otherwise, you just can't pick and choose what part of your beliefs you want to be outraged over. Screw him.
Yep. All right, man. Thank you. Thanks for saying it. Thanks for the reminder. And the ComEd Energy Efficiency Program is committed to helping families and businesses in the communities they serve save money and energy. ComEd offers free facility assessments that can help find energy-saving opportunities, whether it's lighting, HVAC systems, commercial kitchen equipment, or industrial processes. An authorized engineer will work with you to develop a detailed assessment plan specific to your goals and needs. These can be done in person or virtually and last approximately 2 hours. Within 3 to 4 weeks, customers will receive a report detailing energy efficiency projects that they can start working on immediately. Each recommendation will include estimated energy savings, cost savings, project cost, potential incentives, and simple payback. Don't wait. Get started saving money and energy today. For energy-saving tips and to schedule your free facility assessment, go to ComEd.com/poweringbiz. That's ComEd.com/poweringbiz. And if you're ready to sign up for a facility assessment, call them at 855-433-2700 during normal business hours to speak with a ComEd Energy Efficiency Program representative. Email businessee@comed.com or request an assessment online on their website at comed.com/facility assessment.
And if you're saving money on your energy bills, then that means you have more money to go out golf and look good while you're doing it. And to look good while you're doing it, head over to our friends at Pins and Aces, the official golf apparel partner of CHGO and the presenting sponsor of the Big Drive Energy Golf Podcast on the All City Network. Pins and Aces specializes in their amazing polos, hats, golf bags that can be customized to your liking, and of course, the beer sleeve, the product that goes right into your bag and can store up to 7 beers in your bag and keep them cold the entire round. That is something every golf fan should definitely have in their bag right next to their 3-wood. Check out pinsandaces.com, and when you do, use the promo code CHGO to get 15% off of your first order And when you do that, you're also going to get free shipping on that order as well. Again, that's pinsandaces.com for all of your golf apparel needs.
All right, before we wrap up, we're going to update the tank standings and we got 3 spins today. But if you want to smash that like button, we've got 71, which is outstanding. Let's get to 80 before the show wraps up.
Let's get to
That
80.
would be great. All right, the tank standings as they stand right now. Columbus at the top with 28 points in 44 games. The Hawks second with 28 points in 42 games. Anaheim with 29 points in 45 games. Arizona, 33 points in 44 and 35 and 45 for the Sharks. We're going to go to tankathon.com. They calculate these through win percentage, so they actually have the Hawks as third, points per game percentage, rather. So on Tankathon, the Hawks are third.
Yeah.
So we're going to give that wheel 3 spins today, unless
they hit it.
They hit the number 1 pick, and then we bank those other spins. So let's give it a spin, Steven.
Ba-da-da-da-da-da.
Ooh, boy. Arizona, Philly, Columbus, Anaheim, Chicago.
Hey, we just said screw Philly. Get out of here.
Yeah,
Get outta
Philly,
here.
we could just erase them.
All right, fifth
All right,
pick.
2 more. Let's go.
Will Smith, come on down. Hey, that's better.
All right, Vancouver, Chicago, Columbus, Anaheim, Arizona.
Vancouver gets their hometown Connor Bedard, and Chicago gets Adam Fantilli.
I can live with that.
That's all right.
That's a win.
It's okay.
All right, one more here before we wrap up. Arizona, Montreal, Columbus, Anaheim, Chicago. So everyone on the ledge will remain on the ledge until the Hawks lose their next game.
Listen, the winning percentage on Tankathon has got to be far less than what their actual probability odds have ever been.
Right.
So good thing that Tankathon is not the end-all be-all of the ping pong balls.
That's correct. Also, it's not rigged by the NHL to give the team that would be the best for the league the first overall pick.
Yeah.
What? Just saying. All right, we're going to wrap things up. We are back tomorrow at 2:30. Hawks practice at 11:30 tomorrow. So it'll be a little bit of a tighter run from Fifth Third to here, but we'll be fine. We'll just have to get a quicker lunch. That's all. So we'll talk to you at 2:30. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. It's great to see these huge numbers after a game halfway through a really, really bad hockey season.
Yeah, appreciate all you guys.
If you've not done it already, please smash that like button on the YouTube channel. And make sure if you're listening on the podcast, you are subscribed. And if you can, leave us a 5-star review on either Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It'd be super, super helpful if you did that for us. It literally takes 30 seconds, and it goes a really long way to help us out. So we'd appreciate it if you could do that. Thanks to Steven for running the show. Thanks to Greg for jumping on from the UC. For
reminder.
Mario. Oh, what?
Reminder for those that may not have heard, February 10th is
Oh, yes.
our
Thank you.
CHGO Blackhawks takeover day, so save the date. Details are being hammered out as we speak, and when those are finalized, you will be the first to know. But yeah, February 10th.
It's happening.
It is happening. It's a Friday night game against the Yotes, so should be a good time. Diehards, you get a discount on your ticket to the takeover, so if you're not a diehard, what are you waiting for? Go to allchgo.com to become a diehard. Get all the exclusive perks of being a diehard, discounts on everything, merchandise, events, access to all of our tremendous content. And, February 10th. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a good time.
Can't wait. We'll talk to you then, and we'll talk to you tomorrow on the CHGO Blackhawks podcast.